Happy November, everybody. Looking forward to working with you guys this month as we continue towards the holiday season. The focus for this month's newsletter video is all about Google Forms. Many of the appointments that we've had lately have been around the idea of data tracking, analysis, record keeping, and these kind of things. We notice there's a lot of SMART goals around these areas as well. And naturally, this kind of leads us to working with Google Forms with a lot of folks. It's a really nice built-in tool for a lot of these tracking and collaboration features. And so whether you've heard of Google Forms before or have been using it for a while, we hope these ideas that we talk about today will either inspire some more tracking ideas or just give you some thoughts to progress what you're doing already. And so as we dive into this month, just all about Google Forms and tracking. So the first thing we'd want everyone to be aware of, if you're not already, is Google Forms has a really nice option to build auto-grading assessments. And so whenever we can use the computer to help us do our job a little bit easier, we're a big fan of it, right? And so one of the easiest things you can do is in any Google form, if you just visit the settings gear and look at the quizzes tab, you can just simply turn on this feature to make it a quiz. And this enables those extra tools to allow the auto grading when you deliver this assignment to your students. Just make note also, they have a couple extra features with our Chromebooks. You can turn on locked mode so that it actually locks down the tabs so the students can't exit out of the quiz at all to look up other answers or things like that. So it's a true assessment test there. Also pay attention under the presentation option here. You do have an option to shuffle the question order as well. So if that's a nice just kind of protection as well. So if people are looking around, they have a randomized question order just to make that a little bit easier. So after you check and enable this as a quiz and hit save, you then, for any of your questions, have this answer key that's built into it. And so you simply just select the correct answer that you want, assign a point value, and they even give you the option to add feedback for correct or incorrect answers. And just rinse and repeat for all of the other questions that you have. And what's great about this is that it keeps track of all the stats and the data in here as students submit this in this responses tab. So all you have to do after you finish your form is just assign it in Classroom just like you would any other assignment. Students click on it right away, they fill out the form, and you have this nice little stats graph here. Gives you some great insights right away. You get the individual scores and some instant analysis. And this is what we like about Google Forms for sure. So auto grading is great. Just keep in mind that it can only auto grade based on multiple choice types of answers. You can still do the grading feature for open-ended. You just need a little bit more work on your part to offer the correct answers after the fact. So definitely take advantage of this if you haven't already. Next thing we wanted to share, just as an idea that we've worked with a few folks on, is the idea of using forms as a way to communicate with students or communicate with parents. One of the little tricks built in is that when you go to make a new form, if you don't click Google Forms right away, but instead click the little arrow next to it, you can actually pick from a template. And what they have built in are some really nice templates for education. Things like blank quizzes and assessments that kind of get those settings ready to do those auto quizzes right away, worksheets and evaluations, but they also have an exit ticket idea in here. And so if you choose the exit ticket, it gives you kind of the standard things that you might expect, where the student name and email and things you learned in class today. But one of the things that could be a nice, easy option is if you just add a rating scale. It gives a quick option for the students to just simply answer how they're feeling. And with any of the responses that you get, you're going to get this instant graphical feedback again. So again, just thinking of that idea of what are the best ways that we can use these tools to track things as we go, provide some quick analysis so you can get a real quick idea of a range for how your class is doing at any given time. Rating scale is a really nice, easier way to do that. And so maybe throw this in as an exit ticket assign it in classroom, whether it's the beginning of the day or the end of a course period. It can be a great way to get some instant feedback. The other thing we've been seeing is to just use an open-ended question to ask students if they want to meet up or to talk about something, because as we know, not all students are comfortable face-to-face immediately, but if you just ask for their feedback in a form, a digital form here, they can say, hey, I'd want to check this out with you or talk about this later, and then you can respond to that in kind from there. So just a quick way to throw out a rating for some data analysis tracking, but then maybe also using some short answers to garner some feedback there too. And the same idea is true when it comes to communicating with parents as well. You can send these forms out to folks outside of our behavioral environment so that you can get quick feedback for how things are going from their perspective, and whether you use rating scales or open-ended questions or just some check boxes for, yes, my student's doing well with this and I noticed this. That can be a great way to get some feedback as well. The other thing we wanted to share is just how easy it is to take your responses and take this data that you collect and use it in other areas. And so, for example, in this responses tab where all of the responses go, you have these graphs that are excellent for just quick visuals and seeing how things are going there. But beyond just your own needs for these quick visuals, every one of these you can hit this little copy option here, and it simply copies that. Just as if you're copying and pasting, and then you can go and paste this into any document or email, wherever you might want to use this, or even a presentation that you're using, so that you can take this information that you've collected, you can use it in other places, and then you're just simply ready to go from there with keeping track of these responses outside of the forms. And so then this just becomes a picture that you have in there, and you can add your other details to it later. And then taking it a step further as well. So besides these quick responses that you have the ability to create a spreadsheet out of this. So a lot of folks might not be most comfortable with spreadsheets, but one of the nice entryways to using spreadsheets is to use it based on this form. Because a spreadsheet in and of itself is really just a simple database. And so when you click this green button, it actually creates a live spreadsheet of your responses. And what that does is it auto feeds every new response that comes in will become part of this spreadsheet. And it gives you the ability to do extra analysis later on. We have things that we can do in here, such as sorting and filtering. So for example, we have this date column that always is part of every form that you fill in. So I can click this little arrow here, and I can just simply sort the sheet by this date, and then all of my responses are together. Or maybe I'm looking to do it by the email address for the folks that filled this out. I can do that as well. All of the data goes together from there. The other thing that we have in these spreadsheets in the bottom corner is this idea of exploring. And this is a way that Google has things built in here where just simply by having a spreadsheet of different data, it gives us different analysis tools just by it doing the Google thing and looking at the things we have. So we can have almost like a Siri-like thing where we can ask it a question about the data. So for example, if I'm looking at the count of the location, it just tells me right away what it's doing there, just the total for that. But it can do smarter things where it's doing a filter based on certain data sets that we have in there as well. And so you can quickly do that and even see the formulas and how they figured out that answer. But I think even better than that, they have things like these pivot tables that are built in, or the analysis items built in here, and it basically auto creates these analysis sets for you based on the data that you've collected. So if you don't know how the graphs work or how it can calculate these types of things, or even what a pivot table is, it doesn't matter. Use that explore button down here. Let it kind of guide you through different options and different ways of looking at your data. And so again, all you have to do is simply click this explore and then just play around in that sidebar. And even going beyond that, as you're working in a spreadsheet, you have the ability now to do things like conditional formatting, where we want to change the look of something based on some criteria here. So for example, I'm going to just take this column here, and I can add a rule to it. And maybe I'm looking for a specific word here. So if the text is good, I'm going to change the color to a yellow. And so then throughout this column, just visually, I don't even need to look beyond the actual words here. I can just simply identify a color with that conditional formatting. I also have the ability to work with filters in this spreadsheet as well. So maybe I'm looking for the specific facilitator we have. I can create a new filter. And then just based on this, I can hide everybody and just look at the ones that I was involved in right away here. I can even save these as a filter view, so that if I'm revisiting this spreadsheet later, all I have to do is come over here and I can look right away at my appointments, and then they're all set and ready to go. So these filter views are a possibility that we can quickly find these saved searches over and over again. And then finally, you can even add additional tabs to this later, where you can work with other formulas and add other data elements to it. So kind of going beyond just the initial dump of data that you get, what if you want to add some things to it, maybe on a more internal side of things apart from the public form? You can do this using different tabs and then adding to things from there. So definitely a lot of different options that are available to us. These tools and the suite of productivity that Google gives us just in this Google Forms alone is pretty impressive. So whether you're just getting started and want to do something as simple as an exit ticket, or you're moving towards doing online quizzes and doing some analysis deeper with spreadsheets and filter views and pivot tables and all that fun stuff, definitely give us a shout, whether you ask a question in a support ticket or you want to book an appointment so that we can come to you where you're at, or if you want to make an appointment at one of the iSchool locations as well. We'd be more than happy to walk you through this stuff. We use it ourselves. It's awesome, and we'd be happy to show you all the different things that it can do to help you increase your efficiency as well. So we'll see you. Enjoy the month of November, and we'll check back with you soon. Bye.